So now that you have activated their prior learning, they have that review behind them. Now it's important to give them an overview about where you plan to go with the lesson so that they can be conscious and they can be proactive in their own learning. And so if you tell them that the goal of the day is to be able to analyze a certain passage based on the rhetorical analysis of ethos, pathos, and logos, because you've already talked about what those mean, and that you will be able to pull out those aspects in that essay that we were talking about earlier, Two Cheers for Sweatshops. So how did the authors convey, how did they appeal to those specific components of ethos, logos, and pathos? Now that's a very difficult type of analysis, but when you're teaching English for speakers of other languages for academic purposes, they're going to have to do these analyses once they get into English 111. But that's just one example. Yours could be a much more low stakes type of English class. So it could be something along the lines of, we are going to learn how to read a menu, how to order, and how to convey our needs to our server in a way that he or she understands. And that, even though it's simplistic, it's still a goal for the lesson. It's still something that they don't know how to do in English that you are going to help them to do. And so you give them your overview. You tell them what your objectives are. You tell them what your plan is. And then you tell them what your goals are. And hopefully they will turn those goals and those plans and those objectives into their own. Now, if you are teaching in any type of academic setting, your class is automatically going to already have these objectives. So what you do is you take the class's objectives that have been usually they're written by the department chair or a team of people working together that write curriculum and that write the plan, that write the syllabi. So you're going to get those objectives and look at them and see, how does this specific lesson apply to the objectives for this course. Even in a basic ESL class, there are objectives, and it could be one of the objectives is the student learns to read a menu, convey meaning, convey need in a way that the server understands. And the plan is, what are you going to do during the lesson? What types of activities are you going to do? Sometimes I tell my students the plan before the class even begins so that they know to focus on a certain aspect. We are going to do a panel discussion, so be prepared because you might be one of the ones on the panel. Here are the discussion questions. Here are the questions that each of the panelists are going to answer. And so they study those specific questions just in case they are one of the panelists who has to answer one of those questions for the part of the discussion. We'll talk more about that and how to incorporate that into the lesson plan in the activities section of the video. So your goals, what language goal do you have? What content objective or goal do you have? So I would say today I want you to be able to articulate how the component that the authors used, I want you to be able to articulate how that relates to ethos, pathos, or logos. So that when you discuss it, then eventually you'll be able to apply that to your writing. And if it was for the one about the menu, then you would say, my goal is, and it sounds sometimes redundant because of your objectives and your goals may be similar. My goal is for this lesson plan is at the end of it, you will be confident, so you're talking about who they are, you will be confident to go into a restaurant and understand how the menus are organized in English. And maybe have samples of those menus so that each one of those students, of different types of menus, and that you'll be able to understand a variety of different types of menus and be able to convey your need for more water or more coffee, more beer, whatever it might be that you need. And so that is the goal for the lesson. A simple goal, whereas the one about being able to articulate how something relates to pathos, pulling out the text and analyzing it, would be on the other side of the spectrum. But each one, no matter how simplistic or how low of the level of the English language learner, there still should be a goal, an objective, and a plan for that particular lesson.